Hello everybody, how's it going today? Glowplasma here about Kagurabachi chapter number 119. This chapter is titled The Irishima Talks, Part 3. And yes, I know, let's just go ahead and get the elephant out of the room at the very beginning of this video. I am like 3 weeks late. My bad, guys. It was college finals and it got really busy for me, and videos didn't really come out for the past month. That's how things go here on the Glowplasma channel, but you know what? Now we're going to get caught up. We're going to do like 4 Kagurabachi videos on time. They're going to have like another 8-month hiatus, so just get ready for it. We all know it's coming, and if I say it's coming, then it's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying there? But either way, very interesting chapter of Kagurabachi we have here, and I was honestly a little disappointed I didn't get to make a video on this chapter whenever it initially released, but it's also probably better for you guys because I'm going to be real. Even after rereading this chapter, like now knowing what's happened in the next 2 chapters, number 120 and 121, it gives a lot of context to what actually is happening here in the moment, because that first video on this chapter, if I would have done it whenever it came out, would have just been me going, alright, so we get a lot of powers used here, like, oh, we see more of the Outta sorcery from Mashiro, that's pretty cool, and Mashiro no longer has a liver, or at least I think that's where the liver is in a human body, maybe the spleen, I don't know, a little bit of the stomach. Yeah, Mashiro loses a little bit of his mass, if you know what I'm saying. But along with that, just seeing what Hiroto's move does, along with all the other weird intrigue we get with the Prince of the Mikaboshi, who, you know what, I called that pretty much. I know a lot of people online were like, hey, this guy's probably like the Prince of the Mikaboshi, but you can go see my videos before it got revealed here. I was calling this guy the Prince because I'm like, that's probably what he is, and you know what, I was really right on all of those fronts, right? But getting into it, what happened last time in Kagurabachi in chapter number 118? Well, we saw things were actually going pretty well for all of the good guys. We saw that Hiroto went through and it pretty much slit the throat of the prince, and then there were all these other just like general fodder guys around, and we saw everybody take out one. In the moment, we saw Shiba teleport one into the sky, do all of those various things. Hiroto was battling one under the water. Yoshinojo Soga was going and battling one in the woods. And we saw that Mashiro was fighting his on the beaches of the island of Irishima here. And he was just going through, we got introduced to his Outta sorcery, which just like creates all these pressure waves, and at the same point, so, oh man, these guys have some weird sorcery called Kero, where they make like bees and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, all of these people were pretty much taken out. And then the end of the chapter is Shiba sitting down in a conference room and just giving the testimony of what happened during the Irishima Talks, as we saw that the prince's body started to levitate up into the air and the blood started to just move up towards the sky. And that's where we ended the last chapter of Kagurabachi, as we open up this chapter number 119, again titled The Irishima Talks, Part 3. As we just start with narration, as we look at the prince's dead face, pretty much. Blood coming out of his mouth and his neck. Yeah, we don't want to talk about the gash wound that's right there. But we just get a little bit of narration saying, our ancestors, the Mikaboshi, once ruled the land of Japan. But we lost power when the Soga clan led a devastating insurrection. On the island where the Mikaboshi took refuge, they encountered an unusual stone. Desperately, they prayed and prayed for their descendants to live in peace forevermore. And we get just a very striking visual here of this big chunk of Danseki, like really big, and all of the ceremonial ropes tied around the top of it, and this person who is just like leaving these bloodied handprints on the rock as he's sort of like kneeling down, like just praying to the stone pretty much, right? As narration just continues, even as the Soga clan's hero, Ukizane Soga, annihilated the entire island. Very interesting, we get a renaming of Ukizane here. I think the first time it was like Urita or something like that, but I guess just mistranslation on Viz's part, and they have now fixed that. But hey, Ukizane, that still sounds pretty cool. As we just sort of see a little bit more of a evolution of all of these ukiyo-e paintings here, as of course we know the one where Ukizane is fighting the big bad Mikaboshi guy, right? At the same time, we see another one, where high up in the sky, Ukizane is standing here, this black orb hovering behind his head. as we see the island crumbling to the ground and all of these various mikaboshi falling into the waves. And as they do, there's this stone here, the ceremonial rope tied to the top of it, as they're all just reaching the bottom and the depths of the ocean. As the narration continues, as the king of the mikaboshi sank into the ocean, the stone answered their prayers. With powers conferred by the stone in the darkness of the ocean floor, he created a country for us alone. As we move out from the style of these ukiyo-e paintings and just see this tightly woven ball of it, I can't tell if it's supposed to be like stone or like tree branches, like the pine tree sorcery stuff, because of course there's a whole idea of the weird island that appeared off the coast of Japan and that you can't get to because it's got like this big force field around it. It looked like it was like made up of like trees, and it looks like that same material or whatever is making up the island is also currently here making up this interesting little orb country thing, right? As we just take a look inside of a full page spread here on page number 3, as we just see hundreds of thousands of people gathered here in a cave. We see this big Danseki stone lodged in the ceiling, ropes tied all around it, and a more built-up pedestal right underneath the stone, where we see 6 people are sitting right here, where we see 4 people are just sitting here on top of it, and all of these other people just looking around, hands grasped together, just praying. On the land, the Soga clan and their retainers flourished, while the sacred stone hid us from our enemies. As we cut out of this image and we go back up to the island of Irishima itself, where we see that, like, hey, the prince's head is currently attached to his body, but not very well, and all of these other fodder guys have been taken care of. As Shiba looks over to the one remaining person here and just says, like, hey now, it's just you over there. And this guy sort of looks over. Oh, you're a Soga, aren't you? Looking straight at Hiroto. And Hiroto's like, okay, what if I am? As this person just looks a little bit more deeply into Hiroto. The man whose throat you just slit is Ariu Mikaboshi, my son and the crown prince of the Mikaboshi. And Shiba looks over. You already killed 2 Japanese. You only ignored our warnings and met us with hostility. We merely acted in self-defense. As while all this is going on, the delegate is still alive and just sitting on the couch, like just seeing Hiroto slit open somebody's throat and all these other people just die. And like the tensions are really rising here. And he's just like, oh, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing here, right? As Shiba just says, but get this. There's no need for more death on either side. And he just thinks like, hey, we want to make sure we can send a delegate home alive at the end of the day. As he just walks over to this old man who is just sitting in this floating chair, the conch is still behind him. If your son is the crown prince, that means you must be the king. And the king just says, I have no more to say to you. And she was like, okay, what is that supposed to mean? As Mashiro sort of looks over and he starts to go over and walk towards the delegate, right? Just like, hey, I'll let Shiba, Hiroto, and Yoshinojo deal with that. Let me go, like, soothe the delegate here in the moment. And as he sort of walks over, blood raining down from his face pretty much where he got some wounds earlier, he just takes a look at the delegate, and we see the delegate has fallen silent. As Mashiro's like, this is weird. As we see that Mashiro gets a good look at the delegate, whose eyes are now bleeding, and blood is running down his face. As the king just says, I came to bear witness. As we get an image of the couches and where Mashiro is, and we see on the couches are the 2 dead guys, the delegate and Ariu Mikaboshi, and as we see Mashiro standing here, we also get a look at the reflection of the scene in the water, where we take a look and see that Ariu is no longer sitting on the couch, and instead, he's right next to Mashiro, as we just hear a whew. As Ariu stands in front of Mashiro and pulls his hand, bloodied, straight out of Mashiro's gut. Yoshinojo, Hiroto, and Shiba all sort of look over like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. And Mashiro is just like standing here like, ugh, as he starts to make all of these pressure waves using his Aku sorcery to bind Ariu where he's currently standing here. And he even laughs a little bit like, huh, you really wasted your ambush on me? As Ariu sort of just like stands here, like defending himself with all of his hands, Yoshinojo comes over, unsheathing his blade, and goes to make an attack here in the moment. Shiba also teleports in, grabbing the back of Ariu's neck pretty much, as Yoshinojo just thinks like, man, this is hard, as he just like goes over and as he slashes his blade and is like, I can't cut through this at all. As Mashiro's just like, how can this guy still move even with all my pressure waves around here pretty much? And Shiba then just says, hey, Mashiro, take a rest. As all three of them disappear here in the moment. Ariu and the rest of them are all now here in the woods. Aryu's flying through the sky. And Yoshinojo's here unsheathing his blade, going to attack more at Ariu. And Shiba just thinks, I thought Hiroto finished him. Like, that ambush was insane. How on earth could he have done that? As we then see that Hiroto has joined the scene as well, and just declares, Kurotsuchi. As we see that all of a sudden, Ariu, who is flying through the air, is almost just attracted to the ground, and he falls down making a divot here in the moment, getting one of his legs almost stuck in the ground here. As we see that Hiroto is also flying high up in the air, above, almost looking down on Ariu. As you just get some narration. As a general principle, sorcery uses the body of its wielder as substrate. The sorcery passed down through the Soga male line demands exceptionally advanced physical skills, developed through extreme physical conditioning and swordplay. As you see, Hiroto's here floating in the air, and behind him is a black orb, similar to the black orb that we saw flying behind Ukizane at the very beginning of the chapter. And Ariu looks up and he just sees like, this weight and that black sphere behind him. And he just looks up and says, the power that sank our ancestors into the ocean. As the narration just concludes, Hiroto Soga, the only living practitioner of Kurotsuchi Sorcery. As we see here in the air, Hiroto is holding his blade in his left hand, pointing it down towards the ground, hand in a regular grip on the blade, and he goes and swings his sword down towards Ariu. And as he does, it's now pointing pretty much down in front of him. He flips it over in his hand, or pretty much leaves the sword where it is, and just moves his left hand around it, grabbing the sword in a reverse grip, pointing the blade down. And he then takes his right hand and almost goes and hits on the hilt of the sword, knocking it down. And as he does, he creates this divot in the ground as well that Ariu just falls all the way down into. And Hiroto just sort of stands there looking up, and Ariu is just like, this pressure is almost keeping him down a little bit as all of this destruction is being caused here in the forest. Back on the shore, Mashiro is standing here, and Mashiro sort of is like looking up, trying to like hold his gut where he's now got a hole in his stomach. And he looks over and sees the fodder guy who he destroyed earlier, one of the people from the island of Shokoku. And this head on the ground is just speaking a lot of words as Mashiro looks up very confused. As the head just says, we must not go hungry. We must not allow the enemy to seize the stone. They promised. As we fade to black once more, and go down to the massive ritual hall that we saw on the island of Shokoku, or on the country, this spherical country of some kind. As walking through the areas, we see a character of Ariu, and all of these various people sitting here. We see a mother and their child, this young baby swaddled in all of these clothing. And we see Ariu comes up and just puts a hand on the baby's cheek, and the baby just smiles, not really knowing everything else is going on with the world. And we also just see a bunch of bugs in a container. Narration just says, our enemy is the Soga clan, and those who prosper under their auspices. As we see in a very weird sort of turn of events here, we see that Ariu gets up to this platform and this various pedestal here. And as he does, we see all of these bugs get ground up into this paste inside of a mortar and pestle, and all dumped into a rather large cup. In this cup, there's just all of this black liquid, almost this black ichor here. And Ariu just takes the cup and just goes bottoms up with it, and just drinks all of it here in the moment. And this is really just envisioning in my mind an idea of the sort of, I don't know if it's specifically a Japanese practice, but of course I've heard of it through the medium of manga and just being a guy who is interested in just how Japan does things. And the whole idea of kodoku, which is the whole idea of like in poison and like sorcery type things, where somebody would go through and get a bunch of poisonous insects and throw them into a jar and just leave them there, and then whichever one is the insect surviving at the end is the apex of that group, pretty much. And you go and you take that insect, and you can either do more kodoku with it, throwing it in with a bunch of other insects and just other various poisonous ones to pretty much find the cream of the crop. And then you normally use that surviving insect to make like a poison or cause a curse or something like that, mainly for the purposes of not very good stuff, pretty much. But it sort of just invokes that same sort of image of like, hey, you take all of these insects and grind them together and then drink them. Like, it's almost this poison, like this ritualistic thing that you're doing. I just find it so very interesting. But we continue on with the whole idea of Ariu just drinks this ichor here in the moment. As the narration just continues, and I'm pretty sure this is narration from Ariu's perspective. We must not starve. We must not allow the enemy to seize the stone. The power of the Danseki is fundamental to our civilization. The Mikaboshi born here are born with an innate affinity for the Danseki. Among us, there are 6 guardians, chosen from pure-blooded Mikaboshi. By their prayers and blood, they bear the original power once wielded by the Mikaboshi king. Reconstruction of the environment. That divine power transformed a place devoid of light and air into a space for human survival. It reaches a realm far beyond mere fortification magic. As we see all of these 6 guardians floating high up in the air, and we do see, like, indeed, Ariu is one of these 6 guardians, right? As they're all floating in the air around that initial source of Danseki. And we then cut back to the battle between Ariu and Hiroto. Hiroto, using his Kurotsuchi Sorcery, has thrown Ariu down into this crater. As Ariu starts to rise up a little bit, the guardians can draw upon the true realm of the Danseki. And as Hiroto's here getting ready to like slam him back down into the ground again, Shiba also appears, getting a good look at everything happening here. As rising up from the ground, Ariu declares the word, Sumika, and the ground around him goes black. And that's where we end this chapter of Kagurabachi, chapter number 119. Now, as I mentioned, this is a crazy chapter where we not only see more of what's going on with the island of Shikoku, we learn about this whole lore of like, hey, pretty much it's like this godlike power that the original Mikaboshi had with his sorcery that was able to reconstruct water and this place with no air into a place where humans can survive, as the chapter sort of explains it. And we sort of don't really get a whole lot besides, like, it seems like almost very cultish what's going on here a little bit with, like, oh yes, drink this weird black ichor, Ariu, and then he drinks it, and then, okay, he's now sort of, like, got the power of this Sumika, or whatever it is, the power to reconstruct the environment, which is just such an interesting way to phrase it, and I wonder if all 6 of these people have this power to reconstruct the environment, how it sort of works in the idea of how can these powers be different enough for like a shonen action manga, but also sort of get the point across of it's supposed to be like they've got the power to reconstruct the environment, sort of reminding me of the whole idea of like Fire Force. Everybody has fire powers. let's see how those get taken down different avenues. Along with that, we get the introduction of Kurotsuchi Sorcery here, and while we don't really understand what it fully does in this chapter, we will sort of understand it's more of like a gravity-based power as we will continue on down in the next two chapters of Kagurabachi, and I really just love like the hand movements that Hiroto has while wielding this sorcery. I just love the idea of like he's holding the blade down, he slings it into a reverse grip, grabs his hand and like pounds on the hilt, and then just like this divot is made in the ground of like this shockwave, almost like Iso-like almost. It's really cool, and along with that, yeah, Mashiro stocks aren't looking too good right now. Granted, none of these character stocks are really looking good right now. 121, I'm looking directly at you. If you know what I'm putting down or whatever, you know what I'm saying. But just one of those things where so much goes wrong in this chapter, and it's very interesting just to see how we get out of this. You know what I'm saying? Meeting Ariu, knowing he's the crown prince of the Mikaboshi, understanding this man who is standing here is also the king who has come here for the Irishima Talks. And he's also come here to bear witness to what it seems like they knew was going to happen from the very beginning. Just a very interesting chapter of Kagurabachi, and you know what? That's all I gotta say. If you did enjoy this video, my name is Glowplasma. I've talked about Kagurabachi plenty of times on this YouTube channel. There'll be a playlist in the description box of this video along with the in card of this video as well, where you can go through and check out all of the other Kagurabachi videos I've made on the YouTube channel. I also cover plenty of other anime and manga related content here, such as the March and Crown manga and weekly Shonen Jump in the form of YouTube shorts or TikToks or Instagram Reels. I know I'm trying to like diversify everywhere I put stuff on various platforms, you know? With that, if you do enjoy all of these videos and want to listen to them on the go, check out the Glowplasma Talks podcast up on podcasting platforms where you can find all of these things on podcasting platforms. And with that being said, I will catch you guys next time for Kagurabachi chapter number 120. This was again chapter number 119, titled The Irishima Talks Part 3. And I'll catch you guys next time. This is going to be Glowplasma, signing out. Our enemy is the Soga clan, and those who prosper under their auspices. Auspices. What is that word?